Bleh. Yo, welcome to another episode of whatever this is, my channel, my show. How you guys doing? We are talking TV once again today. Another Showtime show. We talked about Dexter, and now we're talking about Yellowjackets, which might have the best theme song ever for credits. No return, no. I'm not going to even try and sing it. I'm sorry. I apologize. That was ridiculous. That was so stupid. Yeah, Yellowjackets has just finished up. It's seared in my brain. I watched the season 1 finale yesterday, and my friend, the Horton, who you remember from the Dexter show, and he was also on Cobra. We talked about Cobra Kai, and we've done Vikings. He's my TV guy, I guess, my TV correspondent, as it were, from time to time. He is back because he also watched Yellowjackets, and we're going to sit and we're going to just chew the fat on Yellowjackets and what's going on. Revelations, where's the show going to go? It's we lost. Dexter is finally gone. I don't think either one of us really cares about that. And, lots of shows have wrapped up and whatnot, but, we always can look towards the horizon for exciting new television like Yellowjackets. So I'm super stoked by that. So let's bring him out of the digital green room. We have the Horton. Hello, sir.
Hello. I'll tell you, and I'm really I love this show, and I'm really bummed the finale. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with my life on Sundays now,
dude?
No, I
was like, I when I got to like the 15-minute mark, like before it was over, I'm just going. I was like, this is the last 15 minutes for a year. This can't be. I was just I have literally been just enjoying every episode. A little frustrated too, but not in like a bad way, in like a passionate way. What was I going to say to you before? What do you think of that No Return song?
So I want to talk about that and just the music in general. I think I love the theme song. I love the 90s needle drops. And I'm somebody, so usually, I kind of look at them in a lot of movies, and you're kind of like, they don't, people use them incorrectly a lot. But I think this show just kills that. I get little chills almost every song. I mean, this is like one of those shows on a bunch of different levels, but especially the music, it feels like they made this for me, and I know I'm totally not the target audience, but it really speaks to my sensibility. Well, maybe I am. Maybe I am.
You are. You are definitely a man of the 90s. And I was, we were just talking before, we have about a decade of age between us. But I cognitively grew up in the 90s and remembered them. I was born in the 80s, so I don't really remember the 80s. I was born in 85, but I remember very much the 90s, and the 90s was a wonderful time for pop culture and media. It was a golden era of just awesomeness. Music, like mainstream music, was never better than it was in the 90s.
Yeah. And there was such a diversity of it.
Oh
talk about diversity of music, because grunge exploded, right? So you had the rock thing, and you still had heavy metal going strong. Then you had the rap hip hop explosion, really took off in the early 90s, and then, you had, R&B and soul, and, we still have all of that, but not at least, and I don't know, maybe this is me being a little out of touch with what's going on now, but everything, it doesn't seem as diverse, the popular music. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is.
No, you are absolutely right. What I think you are observing, and let me know if this sort of aligns with your thinking. Every genre you just said had mainstream household recognition in some way, shape, or form. Even stuff like ska, like you had the third wave ska revival that was huge. Sublime, like all of these band, like everything. Just the Grateful Dead were still going. You had Fish. You had all the jam bands doing their thing. You had such a wide range of music, alternative rock, all of this stuff. because alternative kind of took the place of grunge. And then you also have the pop punk. The pop punk came.
Yeah.
It's funny. Nirvana blew up with Nevermind, and then when Nirvana ceased to be, Dookie blew up in 94, right? Isn't that crazy to think about? Right. And then that exploded all that stuff happening. And you have like Blink-182 and all those bands kind of popped up out of nowhere. So it's kind of interesting how, but what do all of these things have in common that maybe they don't today? All of this stuff was mainstream, like super.
It wasn't niche. Yeah.
Right. And everything has consolidated and collapsed. Like you have people that took like emo music and combined it with rap in the aughts. And you had like stuff like where people are rapping and doing emo vocals, like a really weird, like everything started to collapse on itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now like pop is mainstream and rap hip hop is mainstream, but everything else is like obscure niche, like alternative rock is like a shell, heavy metal is a shell. But in the 90s, these were such huge giants of industry within the realm. Yeah. The Beatles came back with the anthology that was ginormous. So it's just this incredible, and then also with movies too. Just the movies that came out in the 90s are insane. So you had this like incredible decade. So to come back to the 90s is so fun. The 90s were a simpler time too, and yes, there was tumultuous things happening, great injustices happening all the time, as there is with every decade. But I just mean in terms of when you compare today and everything that's happening today, and then compare it to the 90s, things were simpler. It was just not as fractured and subjective as it was in the 90s. I don't know. That's the best way I could describe it. I mean, Broadway was having this ginormous revival. You had like Rent was coming out.
Broadway was hip for a time in the 90s. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
totally. TV, you had Friends and Seinfeld and like Frasier and X-Files and Tales from the Crypt. I mean, it was just MTV. You had these crazy cartoon shows, Beavis and Butthead. Like there's just all this incredible stuff, like stuff that would never, movies and films and TV that would never happen today. You'd find it on a YouTube channel being made independently by a single filmmaker artist paying for it out of their own pocket. A studio would never throw money at something like Ren and Stimpy or Beavis and Butthead and be like, that's a good idea.
And we were still getting, like, at least as far as theatrical movies were going, like we were still getting a really good number of high budget prestige, like adult films, not pornos, but like films aimed at adults.
And they were original. They weren't necessarily, yes, you had stuff like the Brady Bunch and the Beverly Hillbillies and stuff that was revivals of old shows, Addams Family, but you had original ideas, like, look at like Face Off or something, like just like you had like original like movie ideas that were coming out. You had the straight to video market, which was like just this incredible place where like a lower form of Hollywood was happening. This like micro version of Hollywood where you had just like schlock coming out that was wonderful, and all sorts of stuff. The 90s as a decade has left a really nice, beautiful corpse to revisit. So when a show like Yellowjackets takes us back to that golden year of 96, it's really awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And yes, they're tugging on your generational X nostalgia strings. That's what they're doing. They're totally doing that. I mean,
but at
Jurassic
the same
Park, Scream. I mean, there's so much stuff,
But at the same time, they're telling a very like relevant and diverse story. I think it's one of the best examples of, like nostalgia porn mixed with a really good, relevant story today,
So here's the thing. When you use the word nostalgia porn and compare it to the show, here's what I think nostalgia porn is. Nostalgia porn is substituting nostalgia for character development and storytelling.
I did not mean it in a derogatory way towards
No,
this
I didn't
show.
think you did. But what I think it's good, I think we do have to clarify what Yellowjackets is, because I don't think it's necessarily in that sort of vein.
It's not. It was kind of a bad characterization of it.
But you're not. But here's the thing, though. At the same time, you're not wrong. There aren't. We just said there are nostalgia strings being pulled, but they're done in the best way ever. They're not being done like all the older people that have seen the new Scream film. What is everybody? They're not being tricked by the nostalgia callbacks. You know what I mean? Like they're not like there's no story here. Like the story or the performances or whatever is not. That's what I'm seeing from a lot of older people online when I'm reading opinions and stuff. Like they're not tricked by the cheap parlor tricks of being like, look, here's the Millennium Falcon. Whoa, Millennium Falcon. You know, like they actually need some sort of substance in the, and you know, Scream kind of does that a little bit. Like I like the new characters and whatnot, but Yellowjackets is not only delivering us this wonderful, this great story, but it's wrapping it up in nostalgia in a tasteful, meaningful way. And so what is it about? It's a combination of a few different things. It's like Mean Girls, but with Alive thrown in and Lord of the Flies. And
somebody told me online, Now and Then meets Lord of the Flies, which I always thought that was great.
That's perfect. And I think Now and Then has Christina Ricci in it, so that
makes it even better.
Now and Then meets Lord of the Flies meets Alive, because Alive is literally a soccer team in the cannibal
and 90s.
And the 90s. So it's like it's mixing all these things. But when we start off the show, and when I was reading about the show before we even saw it, we were just promised cannibal this, cannibal that, cannibal this.
I don't even remember any of that.
Oh, I was just constantly seeing like, buzz. Oh, new show, survival show, cannibalism, blah, blah, blah. So like, I am stoked the entire season of like, I'm going to see some serious like we have not had a cannibal show, I think, in ever. Like this is, except for Hannibal. Hannibal was great.
Hannibal was great.
We talk about a show that was Showtime, right?
No, it was NBC.
Oh, and I was gonna say 3 perfect seasons, 3 just wonderful seasons, and they're out. Great.
Oh, another kind of an off-topic joke I just heard the other day. They were saying that Netflix should have ran the pandemic because they don't let anything go past 3 seasons.
Oof.
Anyway,
it's true though. It's true. It's so true. Which, by the way, another show for you to watch if you haven't seen it yet, Station 11. Have you watched this?
I am. I've read the novel, and I'm about 3 episodes into it right now.
I just finished that last night as well. Just unfucking believably good. Like really, really loved it. But talking about the pandemic, that was just it was a real gut punch to read that, to watch that show. But Yellowjackets, female soccer team, they crash land in the mountains of Canada, and they one of the Lottie, her dad is rich, so she schedules her dad charters a private flight. They take the team really seriously. Like this is like, again, like what Cobra Kai does, where we take our sports super duper seriously. So they take soccer is life to these girls. And you really get the sense, even though they have their bickerings with each other, that they are very much they're a family. They're a team and they're a family, and that they're hanging out together at parties and yada yada yada. We get some, before we even get to the mountains, we're set up with some sort of really spicy situations where these 2 best friends, Shawn'a is sleeping with her best friend's boyfriend Jackie. And what the show does that's so great is it jumps back and forth in the timelines. Can you explain that a little bit for the audience?
I love the timeline jump. So it's telling the modern story of these women, or some of these women in today, and flashes back to the incidents in 1990, the, you know, events leading up to the accident, and then afterwards while they're in the forest, and the cutting between the two is just it's a really good device. You know, it's been used in other movies and shows, but I think this is probably one of the best examples of it.
It absolutely is one of the best examples of it. There's another show that I think does this, and you know, we're talking about comparisons. You could add This Is Us, because this is what This Is Us does.
I thought you were going to say Lost, but yeah, that's a good one.
This Is Us, and I have not watched. I think we stopped at season 3 or season 3 was where we stopped. We still have to finish the show, but this show, and talk about trying to squeeze blood from a stone. I mean, they just they have been milking that. What should have been a three season thing, they are just milking the shit out of that. We're gonna go in the past, we're going in the future, blah blah blah. But they do the same thing here in Yellowjackets, except here I find it to be far more effective because they leave the trick of this sort of storytelling devices. They give us little bits. First of all, they don't tell you anything. You know, it's not like when you go to see Star Wars The Force Awakens or the new Scream movie, where you literally have 2 legacy characters standing in a 2-shot verbally explaining backstory to the audience. Oh, Han, I wish you had never left when you did, because our son turned evil and then ran away. Or Dewey and Gale, I wish that I had never, you know, woken up in the middle of the night and left you because I wasn't feeling good about being insecure about leaving the small town of Woodsboro and blah, blah, blah. And people are actually going like, wow, yeah, this is great. It's like, you really just telling us what happened like this way? Like, what the fuck? They don't do that in Yellowjackets.
And
it's,
you know, that brings up a really good point too, because in general, there's a filmmaking philosophy or screenwriting philosophy where, you know, you'll generally say that flashbacks are in general not a good thing. You know, it's like a lazy storytelling device. Here is a perfect example of, you know, a flashback structure used correctly and used to deepen the narrative and the characters and to work in conjunction with the modern story to create something greater than the whole. If this just would have been
100% agree with you.
Like if they would have done like season 1, season 2 past, you know, and then went on and did the future stuff separated, it would not be as strong. It's stronger together, and it's, you know, because of how it works together. It's really brilliant the way it's structured.
You can juxtapose moments in time to show how one moment at a time and affects another.
Exactly. It's
another
great.
moment of time. And that, so here's the thing. We talked in our last show, we talked about how voiceovers are just like really lazy storytelling and terrible, but they can be used incredibly effectively when they're done so to flesh out character like they do in Dexter. We fall in love with Dexter. We fall in love with Joe. I don't know if you watch You.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? You does Dexter, I think maybe
better than
Dexter. Yeah, it's just that fucking good. And that also uses a voiceover. And what do those two shows have in common? They're doing a very similar sort of plot, sort of idea. But what is it that makes them so successful? And they're both successful. Charismatic lead that gives us rich characterization through a voiceover. And I think, listen, I've used flashbacks in my personal storytelling when I've done it. I think the key to making flashbacks work, because I agree with you 100%, flashbacks are lazy storytelling. Here's my if, you have to show, you can't tell. If you show cinematically, what is showing? It's cinematic. Cinematic means the story is being told to us in a visual medium. There's no words that communicate. What elevates the storytelling is that the viewer has to put together everything that they're seeing in order to understand what's happening in the story. When J.J. Abrams or fucking whoever, the radio silence guys, you know, are literally telling actual plot points in a just a cardboard monologue, it's so infuriating to me. It's so it just lacks all feeling and sincerity, and I hate it. I truly hate it. But if you had flashed back and showed us that Dewey left, if you had flashed back and show us that Han had left Leia, and not said anything, just show us. Look at, why do people love Mandalorian so much? Mandalorian jumps around. Yeah. Mandalorian, nobody talks. Everybody you just see it. You see what happens. It's mature storytelling, or it's more mature storytelling, I would say.
What was the Damages, the lawyer show on FX? Did you ever see that?
Never seen it. They do that
yeah, through the entire run. But the first season of Damages, that is the best like use of nonlinear storytelling in a show. Really? I would say even overall, I like Yellowjackets better, but I would say like technically, structurally, like that first season of Damages is freaking brilliant.
You might have when did it come out?
It was in the 2000s. I don't even remember. 2010 maybe.
I might have to seek that out. That sounds
really it's like the show stays good throughout, but that first season is incredible. Like, and that's where I discovered Rose Byrne. She's just great in that show, and one of Glenn Close's better performances. It's really good.
They do it in Breaking Bad too.
Yeah, Breaking Bad
flashback a ton. Yeah. And what do they? But do they tell it? Nothing is explained. We just see a little snippet of the past, and it contextualizes what's happening in the future and why people do what they do. And Yellowjackets just does this so friggin' well. And yes, they crash land. I'll tell you, for most of the season, I was less concerned about what's happening in the present. My bigger questions were, where is everybody else? Like, I was never really like the whole, Shawn'a and the boyfriend thing. And here's the thing. Well, we could get to questions in a second, but Shawn'a and her affair, and just sort of all that. It was okay. It was interesting. It kept me engaged. But with the election and stuff, I was super wanting to know what was happening in the past at all times. I just wanted to watch it. And they do a really masochistic job. It's masochistic, but it's also good. They did a good job, but they did a masochistic job of making you watch something for a whole hour, and you're so into what you're watching that you don't even realize that the story is barely inched along.
Yeah.
And that's done for our benefit. They're doing that for our benefit because they're going, look, we want to tell this story over 5 seasons, and they don't even have, they have a general idea where to go over the 5 seasons, but they were breaking the story after that pilot. So they are kind of evolving the show. I read about that. They were writing the show. They're writing the show as they go. And that makes me really kind of happy because it allows them to sort of intuitively maybe turn, instead of being like so dead set in something.
Right.
That benefited Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was supposed, Jesse's supposed to die at the end of the first season.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, Jesse is part of the show. We're gonna. I mean, could you imagine the remaining 4 seasons without Jesse Pinkman? You need him.
Nah.
So there's something to be said for sort of feeling out. At the same time, we've seen how that works in Star Wars, and it doesn't. Like, you need to have a showrunner that kind of is guiding the ship, and it sounds like these guys are great showrunners guiding the ship. Star Wars didn't have a showrunner until they got to the Mandalorian. So, and then the show itself, it's grisly, it's brutal. What were some things that you really truly enjoyed this season, or in the show, or just whatever in general?
Yeah. So, I don't think you can talk about the stuff you like without talking about the cast, and both the young and the older cast. I mean,
excellent.
The young girls are all incredible.
Incredible.
I especially like, oh gosh, what's her name? Jasmine Savoy Brown. She plays the younger version of the senator.
And she's in Scream.
She's in Scream.
Shit. She is the. I love her.
Yeah.
Love her.
I like. She is incredible, and I really like the younger Natalie, the Juliette Lewis character.
She's in Star Wars.
She's in Boba Fett. Yeah.
And love her too.
And right at first, I wasn't sure about in the flashbacks about the male characters. I wasn't sure, they felt kind of stock, but as it went on, they developed them really well. Like
Adam and what's his face? What's the name of the guy? Natalie's guy.
Oh, why can I never? I'm so bad with names.
Travis.
Travis. Yeah. I think that's a great performance. The kid playing Travis. Yeah, and I'm a sucker for survival stuff. So when you get into the woods and they're trying to figure out how to eat and they're starving and they're cold,
love survival stuff.
And when they first find the gun and how to use the gun and how to hunt and all of that. I mean, I'm totally like on the edge of my seat. And then with the modern stuff, I think I dug it a little more than you did, but but I will say this, I still agree that the flashback stuff is the more engaging narratively, but I think what's happening, and we'll get into where we think it's going to go,
right?
But I think that I think that is shifting, because I even felt it in the last 2 episodes where I was a little more engaged with what was going on in the present.
Interesting.
By that last episode, with the exception of the mushroom sequence, that was incredible.
Oh my God. That was, I mean, and because you keep asking yourself the question, and they do a very, what they do, the filmmakers do this, or the whatever you want to call them, the showrunners, they do this very sort of tacky, tired thing that you see in movies all the time, especially like film school type movies. We're going to show you a scene from the middle or the end of the film at the beginning, and then tell you how we got there. And it's a tired trope. We've seen it a million times. It's kind of eye rolling. We don't really need it. However, here is a great example. They set up this promise. Yeah, they set up a promise of saying, look, guys, we've got a lot of, this show is about cannibalism. We've got a lot of stuff to do, but we promise you're going to get here. And when you get here, you're going to be glad you're here. You're going to be glad you went through it. But throughout the entire season, I keep going, okay, when's the cannibalism? When's the cannibalism? And I was always okay with not getting any cannibalism week after week after week. Cannibalism is one of those subjects, as you said, I like survival movies. I like prison movies.
Yeah,
I like movies about neo-fascists, like skinhead gangs and stuff like that. So like, I guess you could call these kind of exploitation films, like modern exploitation sort of subgenres.
Yeah. Okay.
Cannibalism is one of them. I just love cannibal movies. I think they're great. I feel like we get them far and few between. There's something about cannibalism that's just so macabre. It's like the darkest sort of aspects of humanity is the literal act of consuming another sentient being. So this notion of like these girls being on a team, and that's what made watching the flashbacks so crazy, because you're just realizing these girls are going to be eating each other in the future. Like we're going to get there. So they give us this promise. And everybody's covered in deer skins. We don't know who is who. Well, the girl at the center, the leader, she's called the Antler Queen. However, I had to go back and rewatch because I thought Misty was the Antler Queen, and I just didn't miss the shot. She raises up her thing, but she's not wearing the same garb as the Antler Queen. We now know for almost positively who the Antler Queen is. It's Lottie. Lottie is the Antler Queen.
What a great performance too, Lottie.
Yeah.
And what a good like misdirect. And I don't know if they misdirected that she was was or wasn't the Antler Queen, but I had kind of forgot.
Who did you think it was before?
I was thinking that Ricci, that Christina Ricci's the younger
right.
version.
I thought Misty was
Misty, yes.
Right.
Or was the engine for it,
Yeah.
And she still may be, who knows. But that
because she's standing behind Lottie when they first altar up the bear, they offer the bear heart to this altar.
Totally. But like Lottie was so in those early episodes, with the exception of that, that opening sequence, like she was so backgrounded, like the other characters really were front and center, and she just like slowly comes out, you know?
Right. And as I've been reading in like different pieces on Yellowjackets, they use the term red shirts a lot, which is something that's from Star Trek.
Yeah.
And, a red shirt was someone who was disposable and had to die to show a sense of danger for the characters that have plot armor and could never die.
Mm.
And it's a way to get like, exciting moments of death on a show without killing any of your characters. And so there's a couple of red shirts in the group that are just sort of interchangeable. We don't really know who they are, but whenever you see them all in a very large group, and there's just way more than the characters that we're always with on an individual level. So they're definitely going to get eaten up and stuff. And then you're wondering what happened to Jackie, who is absolutely phenomenal performance, phenomenal actress. Like the center of everything that's happening with these girls is the relationship between Shawn'a and Jackie, as we learn that Shawna'S pregnant. And what's interesting is Shawn'a has a single daughter, and her other daughter, or her other child, the child that she's pregnant with in the woods in 1996, something happens to that child because the daughter is too young. She's like 16 or something. She's too young to be the 25-year-old baby.
Yep.
Or 25-year-old kid that would be around. And Shawn'a and Jeff have stayed together, and their marriage is kind of stale. And she thinks Jeff's having an affair. And Jeff was probably the dumbest part of the whole thing, which actually turned into a positive, was that, Jeff was doing this blackmail, like this red hair. They have this whole red herring with the boyfriend. It was kind of like a waste of time, if you ask me, if that's what it adds up to.
Well, maybe was, Adam, but I did I liked the character resolution for them. Like I like where they ended up because of it, Shawn'a and the husband. But you're right.
Yes.
The incident was definitely contrived.
That's the positive. That's the positive, is that we find out that we go from hating Jeff to being like, wow, you read every one of her journals and you didn't you gave her space and still accepted her and loved her despite knowing all of the grisly things that we don't even know. And here's, again, great character moments that really show you who Shawn'a is. They're super subtle. In the beginning, you see that there's this rabbit eating all of her plants. She kills the rabbit, butchers it, and serves it for chili. But what do you notice on the windowsill in their kitchen behind just in the background in the production design? I don't know if you know this.
No, I don't.
There are all of these ceramic statues of bunny rabbits, which would lead me to think that Shawn'a has an affinity or enjoys bunny rabbits on some level.
Right.
So it really speaks to what kind of person she is when a bunny rabbit inconveniences her and she just, without thinking, butchers it and serves it up for dinner. And then later on, this is really bookended. I'm sorry?
Nothing. She jokes about it at the dinner table.
Right. Yeah, she has this really sort of black humor about it. And then this is bookended in the last episode where she has been sleeping with this guy that she clearly has an affinity for, and now he's dead meat. And she's literally her and Natalie, all of them, they are so unfazed by a dead body, let alone having to dismember a dead body. It's like riding a really grotesque, fucked up bicycle, she says.
Right. That was a great line.
And she's just so nonchalant about chopping up this guy that she was having sex with. It's just so crazy, to think that, he's dead and dead by her hand. And that's another thing I'm curious to know what you think. What happened? Is she hallucinating? She stabs him in this weird kind of hallucinatory madness for a moment. He inches towards her and she sticks the knife out because she thinks she's seeing something else. Remember? And then Adam dies. It just makes me wonder, can we even, is Shawn'a reliable? Is she a reliable sort of source of information?
I don't think so. It's one of those things where I'm not 100% sure. At this point, if even the filmmakers are quite sure some of these answers and are leaving some wiggle room, maybe.
Good
You know,
point.
I'd like to think that they have at least, you know, the like the character stuff locked, but I don't know, that felt like a moment where they were leaving some ambiguity for future use.
All I know is what is interesting about all of these characters that we care about, and that they are people that clearly have suffered through traumatic experience. They suffer from PTSD, and they've done horrible, monstrous things that we are just not aware of. That is what's not being said. Is it true? No. Maybe when we watch and find out, we'll see, oh, you know, we were led to believe it, but it's really not that bad. Like, just sitting and shuddering at what happened to Jackie. Why isn't Jackie alive today? That something must have been so fucking gnarly. And it was actually, you know, and here's another piece that I read. I can't take credit for this. I will take credit for there's one observation that I had that I shared with you. That was my personal observation when I was reading the article. This was from an article. They talked about the emotional violence of that final confrontation between Jackie and Shawn'a. And how it was violent, but it just wasn't like visceral violence. It was brutal, man. It was brutal. It was two best friends that love each other who finally are saying what they really think about each other for the first time as secrets are revealed. Jackie read Shawna'S diary, and Shawn'a feels betrayed that Jackie would read her diary, but she had good reason to, because Shawn'a was keeping things from her. You know, and then this is the thing. She says, you're so basic, you're so empty. Shawn'a says about Jackie that you're so basic, you're so empty, you're a narcissist, you think, you know, you don't consider other people. And what is it that, and she says something about, high school. This is what she says. Hold on, let me pull it up. I'm going to want to read exactly what it was, because it was just so good. And this is what I said to you as well. This just popped out at me, and I was like, I have to share this with, I've been bothering Jason all week with various little things. Without hesitating, Shawn'a fires right back. I'm sure everyone at home is so fucking sad to lose their perfect little princess, but they'll never know how tragic and boring and insecure you really are, she growls. Or, and here's what really, this blew my mind when I was watching this, or how high school was the best your life was ever gonna get. These are the kinds of darts only best friends can throw. The ones precision targeted to hit soft spots the assailant knows all too well. And then I said to you, when Shawn'a steals Jeff, she steals what would have been Jackie's post-high school glory as well. A mediocre, quiet, empty suburban life. That is what might have been awaiting Jackie. And that is like Shawna'S albatross for what she did. She coveted. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you were right. Yeah, it's like her penance almost.
Yeah, she covets her best friend's boyfriend, and you know, gets the validation that she wants from the relationship, but doesn't realize that like she essentially is, by wearing Jackie's shoes, she's never taking them off. And Jackie was gonna peak in high school and was gonna end up marrying Jeff, even though that's not what she wanted to do. And she was gonna squeeze out a kid and just sort of have like this boring, quiet, suburban life on Long Island, New York. And that would have been, I think they're in Long Island, pretty sure. And that would have been it. And that's her life. And so that's just really sort of interesting to note as well, in terms of brutal. Were you a little let down by how Jackie perished?
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you! 66 cents.
To be honest, yes. I think it worked dramatically very well, but like as a filmmaker or writer, I see the pertinence of it, but yeah, I mean, has somebody who does want to see some of the more sensational elements, I would have liked to have seen that happen, like in the mushroom thing, like at the peak of that, something happened. I wanted to see something happen to her, and maybe that's a flaw on my part, but I wanted to see it come to a violent end. I just have to admit that's what I was expecting. That's kind of what I wanted. I'm fine with how it turned out, but I wanted something more climactic.
See, I said to you leading up, I said someone's got to get eaten. Something really fucked up has to happen in that final episode, or else, they really are. They've really taken a lot of our goodwill, and we haven't minded giving it, but you have to give us something big in that final episode. And initially I felt the same way, like, that's it. She gets left out in the cold. But the longer that I've thought about it up until we've done the show, the more I realize how perfect it is, because going back to that article I read, it was violent. It was crazy. They all turned on her and they literally push her out into the cold.
Right.
And Taisha, I think her name is, the actress that you love so much, Jasmine, she makes mention of, you can't fall asleep in the cold because it will freezing to death will feel like you're falling asleep. And that's literally what happens to Jackie.
That's right.
And it's, it's not violent, but it's incredibly savage and brutal
and cruel. Yeah.
And cruel. She literally, it's so sad. She spends her final moments like it really was a doom coming for her. It really was the end of her life. She was living her life like it was the last days of her life, because it was.
You know what? Before you go on, this is a perfect example too of how people need to let go of our expectations and let a story unfold. And because what you're saying now is perfectly making sense to me. And if I hadn't have held on so strong to my preconceived notion of how I thought things were going to wrap up, I think I would have got more out of that. I'm definitely going to watch the finale again.
Listen, I'm a little bit in that boat as well with you, because like I said, I was expecting something a lot more. I was expecting sensational. We got a lot of little chewy bits to chew on in those last 15 minutes, and that Jackie's death was one of them. But here's the thing, we still might get our cake and eat it too, because
I think
here's the big question. Here's the big, no, I'm talking about with Jackie. Here's the big question for you. The winter has come. Winter has finally come, as they used to say in the Game of Thrones. And they're eating their bear meat, but Jackie's body is frozen cold. She's going to be the first one that's eaten.
I think that's good. I think that's a good bet. Although this is a show that's been upending expectations, so we'll see. But yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet.
It really sets up like that they bury her in a shallow grave.
Yeah.
And she is preserved enough that when that bear runs out, that's what so Shawn'a is going to come. I don't think we're done with Shawna's's guilt that we're seeing at the reunion, because Shawn'a is going to come face to face with keeping her baby alive by eating her best friend, literally eating her best friend, or dying. Right. And we all know that Shawn'a is in 2021. So if they don't go there, I think it would be a really crazy missed opportunity. I just don't see how Jackie is not the first one to be eaten. The whole season, I was like, Jackie is clearly eaten if she's not in 2021.
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
So to me, I'm like, it has to start somewhere. And they already started with the ritual stuff. There is some sort of supernatural inclination happening, whether it's real or whether it's sort of hysteria. There's some otherworldly, Van talks about it when Van gets her face chewed off by a wolf, which was also really brutal.
That was probably the most viscerally brutal moment in the series so far, I would say.
That was absolutely crazy. And Taisha just kills the wolf with the axe.
That's one of the most badass moments I've seen.
Yeah, she's awesome, dude. She's sleeping up in a tree. Feeling guilt that she's the reason why her girlfriend got just mauled by a friggin' wolf. And here's the thing. I think Van is still alive 100% in 2021. Because you don't set her on fire and you don't maul her by a wolf.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
She is Lottie's number 2, as we saw with
I could
Misty.
see that. Yeah.
So Misty is going to do something in the future. Misty's going to do something that sort of is redemptive, and she turns herself on the cult, and that's maybe why.
I think future seasons are going to be like the relationships between the existing characters that we've already seen is going to be different. So I think we're going to get a lot of reversals and. I mentioned online to somebody, like I in that last episode, like I was getting really strong Lost vibes.
I've never seen Lost. I only saw the pilot, so I'm also don't know nothing about Lost.
Yeah, well, it develops the first season in a kind of a similar manner, is it the second season where they start doing the flash forwards? I don't remember. But anyway, there's a season in Lost where they start doing like half the show is on the island and half the show is in flash forwards. But it works.
That's really weird, because isn't it like, aren't they all in heaven or something?
I really don't know.
I remember when people were so mad when Lost turned out to just be nonsense. And
I had just, by the time Lost ended, like I don't remember what was going on in my life, but like I had just kind of lost interest, not necessarily because it got bad or anything. I just kind of lost track of it, and then watched the last couple seasons and was a little lost, no pun. And I honestly, unless I read a think piece on it, I couldn't tell you what happened in the final in that last season.
Yeah, it's possible that it's absolutely probable that allegiances are going to shift around, but Lottie is obviously still alive, and I think it'd be crazy not to think that Van is still alive. And then where is Javi? Maybe Javi is also with Lottie. That would be interesting too.
Yeah, something's going to happen with Javi. Like at least I think as early as season 2, something is going to. I mean, where did he go?
I don't know. But here's something at the very beginning of the show. We see that there are 7 cult members there's 7 people with the cult with the Antler Queen,
right?
And I would imagine, and they already tried to like trick us by saying that it was Jackie that was Pit Girl, but Jackie's not Pit Girl, we know, because of how it ends up. So so that leads me to believe that, or at least it makes me ask myself this question. We're sort of, it's sort of implied, or at least they want the audience to immediately think there's only 4 surviving members of the situation.
Yeah.
And that's just so not true, as we learned with Lottie. But what's there to say that not all 7 of them, that only 4 of them came back to society, and that the rest of them stayed up there in the wilderness and have formed this crazy cult? Because what happens at the end of season 1 is, as it turns out, Natalie is not crazy. Natalie thinks that Travis killed himself. It's impossible because they made a pact, and it's really kind of tender when you think about it, like that she was so sure she knew Travis so well, only for it to really seem to play out that he actually did kill himself, apart from this one thread of his bank account, which doesn't seem to go anywhere. And so because he turned his back on the pact, she's ready to do the same. And then like a do ex machina, or whatever, however you pronounce that, the god in the machine. Yeah, the god in the machine comes out of nowhere. Cult members wearing this mysterious symbol that starts in the woods and goes all the way out. They abduct Natalie, so she's kidnapped. Misty kills the fixer who was working for Taisha.
That was a great little sequence. Like,
shows you how devious Misty. Yeah, Christina Ricci is amazing.
God, and I love her in this.
The psychology, she's so nefarious. She tricks her into she basically asks to kill herself by taking the pack of cigarettes and out of the garbage. And Misty knows that this is going to happen, and she puts the head, Adam's severed head, in with the woman being cremated. I mean, she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant.
I in the past and in the future, I love that characterization. One thing that I haven't read anything on it. It's something I stopped doing a couple of years ago. Like, I just don't read pieces on movies anymore. Like I try.
I love, not movies. I do it for TV shows.
Movies or shows. Like, occasionally I will, but and this isn't any kind of like highfalutin thing, but I try to watch a thing, enjoy it on its own terms, how I'm taking it, and move on to the next one.
That's like me with movie trailers. Like, I avoid.
Yeah, I don't do movie trailers anymore.
All movie trailers. I want to go into a movie surprise. When it comes to, why I like the think pieces, because when we have to wait a whole nother week. I need something to think about, or for the year. So like, that's where like
I think it's a good thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like it's not. Like, even just talking with you today, and you were talking about that piece that you found where they're talking about the exchange with Shawn'a. I mean, I may have felt that subconsciously, but I wouldn't have been able to articulate it. And just hearing it like makes me, oh yeah, you know what? I want to watch that again. Like, I totally understand the impetus to do it. It's just something that I don't really partake in much anymore.
We also see that Taisha has an altar. And this is really interesting to me because
that was freaky.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't even realize what was really happening. I forgot. So the wife, Simone, I think her name is, she goes back to get some things. And she crawls up this, I guess it's some sort of weird chute.
Yeah, like a crawl space. And I don't even remember what she was doing. I honestly don't remember.
She was just grabbing laundry or something, but she finds blood down.
Oh, that's right. She followed the trail of blood, and then it was in the like crawl space, like the vents, and okay.
So she finds an altar, and Taisha is not expecting to win her race for Senate.
Yeah.
And so it's and I love that one of them is like running for senator, because that's like totally what would happen. Like, it's such what a great little element to add to the show. Especially with like adding the fixer into that, like to tell us about the story. Like, that's how you introduce the story, through the fixer, which is how the whole pilot opens in the first place.
Right.
But also that, I don't know, it's just really, I just like that. But that this ritual that she does with the dog head and the heart and everything, quite clearly they all were into this cult out in the woods.
Yeah.
That they seem to do these rituals to provide them with some prosperity on some level.
Right. Well, and the weird thing about it too, at this point anyway, is, you know, in the flashbacks, she is very much the like, oh, this is all bullshit person.
Right.
You know? So
right.
It'll be really interesting to see how that develops.
Well, what's interesting too is the bear that Lottie kills walks right up to Lottie, and then Lottie just stabs it in the head. And here's what I think. They think the bear was a sick bear. Here's what I think happened. I think Lottie, who already has psychic powers, so psychic powers exist in this world. She's a clairvoyant of some kind. She has some sort of clairvoyancy that's unexplained. She is in contact with whatever these gods of the dirt and sky are. It's the same, you know, clearly the man who lived in that cabin was also in connection with this stuff and died there as a result and whatnot. And
they haven't found his body though yet.
They did. They found it in the attic.
Oh, that's right. They found a body in the attic.
They found a body in the attic. I assumed that it was the guy, but
I mean, it may be. But what I'm saying is, I think maybe there's something else out there. There's somebody else out there. Could be.
You might be right. And you know what's interesting too is I bet you dollars to donuts that we are going to flash back to that dude when he's living in the cabin and still alive.
For sure. For sure.
I also think we're gonna there's a bunch of stuff that we're gonna flash back to, I think. But I think Lottie starts doing the ritual on her own. She discovers something in the woods. She discovers that altar. She knows to bring the bear heart to the altar. So she's been doing this stuff on her own. Remember, she has that whole thing where she says blood needs to flow or something in the middle of the season when they're doing like some weird seance-y shit. And that's when she first realizes that blood needs to be shed in order for them to like go on or whatever. And then when the bear comes, she makes that prediction that we're not going to be hungry for very much longer. So there's some sort of ritual involved with this and the altar and everything. She's tapped into it. And Taisha knows, they probably all know about it. And Taisha, in desperation to win her Senate seat that she has no chance of winning, does a miniature version of the magic that she knows about from that time. Sense. And that's why she wins. And we see that little glint in her eye in that last shot after Simone discovers the altar.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I kind of think something more nefarious on her part is going to happen in the past that led to it myself. I don't think I don't think Lottie is going to be the only chief antagonist, like moving on in the past. Like, I think it'll almost be
Taisha breaks the girl's leg.
Yeah. Power struggle between the two, maybe.
It's possible. And, you know, Taisha's also the one that wants to sets out with Van to go try and get rescued.
Yeah.
Like, she's a very strong-willed woman, and she's awesome for that reason. And she's definitely going to lead that will lead to some sort of conflict. But I think for sure there's some sort of, we're learning that the symbol represents some sort of belief structure or religion or magic that Lottie has tapped into and used it to turn herself into a priestess.
I totally follow you that's what they believe. I don't believe it'll be actualized in the show though, like a supernatural element. I hope not. At this point, I don't think so.
I really don't want there to be a supernatural element, but I think that there is, because first of all, when the Christian girl, the religious girl, when she flies that plane,
the fire.
Yeah, the fire. I think it's definitely coming from the teddy bear. It's so weird the way
it is weird. It is weird. But
why wouldn't it start in the engine? That's where the fire would start, not in the.
I think it's a misdirect. I do. I think it's a red herring. I think it's a misdirect. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong, and I accept that.
So here's what I wanted to do for the remainder of this thing. I opened up some of those articles that you avoid, and they have some big questions for the next season. Let's try and answer a couple of those, or at least ask the questions and see what we think. Sure. Is Jackie really dead in Yellowjackets? Yes. 100%. And it'd be stupid if she wasn't. And I love that, like, Shawn'a definitely seems to have like Jackie in her mind always. Like, she's always thinking about her and imagining her, and that, like, Jackie is a big presence in Shawna'S life in 2021.
Do you see her coming back in like a almost like a Deb Dexter fashion with her?
I think that's kind of like,
I think they would have established something like that if it was going to happen. But
I really like this element. Listen, it's been done in a whole bunch, and it might be a bit of a cop out, but I actually think it's a way of bringing back dead characters that works for me. Like, you literally can cast a character, like, for instance, they're doing Face Off 2, and
yes,
like the idea of John Travolta now, Sean, I forget what's his name, Sean Archer having Castor Troy in his mind,
right,
for the whole movie, like Nicolas Cage, like playing Castor Troy in Sean Archer's mind, would be so fucking good. Like,
see, that's what they should. Well, I mean, I've heard some rumors of what the plot is, but it's not really that. But I hope that is what it is. What I've heard is not nearly as good, but I don't know, I trust the filmmakers behind that. Like, I like everything they've done, so my fingers are crossed.
Yes, me too. I really like what those filmmakers have done. They're really great. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen because we have some stills from the actual show here. Hold on, I got like 3 of these articles out, but I think they mostly ask the same questions. We'll kind of see what's what. Hold on. Are we both? Yeah, we're both still here. Let's see what happened. Oh no, we lost you. Here, we'll do this.
That's fine.
Okay. So we have what's going on with Thais's creepy basement shrine. So that's what the shrine looks like. We see the head of the dog here. There's the heart. There's the symbol. This symbol must be some sort of tribal symbol. Maybe indigenous Native American peoples are tied to the symbol. Who knows? Some sort of pagan worship symbol thing. Who is the man with no eyes? I've completely forgot about that guy.
I did too. When did that happen?
That's in Taisha when she's a little girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I honestly don't know. And I'll be honest, I was not, clearly I forgot about it. So I don't really care much for that. I don't know. I don't care where that goes, really.
No, I mean, maybe it'll be really cool. We'll see.
I will say this, Sammy, Taisha's son, is like, there was a lady in the window, and I think that's obviously Taisha.
Yeah, it's Taisha. I think so. Yeah, I think they pretty much said that unequivocally at this point.
Is adult Misty a threat to the survivors? And I think the answer is probably
I'd say shit. Yeah, it's like like we said before, especially if this is going to go 5 seasons, we are going to see shifting alliances. We're going to see characters that are considered to be the protagonist turn antagonist. She's going to be integral, I think, on both sides of the fence on it in the future, because I think she is not inherently like evil or good in terms of the narrative of the show. I think she's just.
She is whatever wolf you chose to feed.
Exactly. Yes.
There's 2 wolves, a good and a bad wolf. She is whatever wolf you're going to feed.
Yeah.
And she is. So like, for instance, she does destroy the black box that would have saved them all instantly because she wanted people to see her as useful. At the same time, she also protected everybody from the Fixer by killing them. You could also imagine that if they slight her again the way that they have, that she will use her powers against them.
Totally.
Is Jessica Roberts dead in Yellowjackets? Unequivocally, yes. I say wrap it up. She served her purpose, right?
Yeah. I think she's dead.
She introduces us to the world of what happened, and she gets chained up, and it's kind of ridiculous. But like she has a perfect arc. She dies as a result. We know she's going to die, and it's fine. Was Callie born in the Yellowjackets wilderness?
Is that the daughter?
Impossible. Yes.
No. Whoever she's pregnant with may have been, but not her.
How about this for a twist? That baby is also still out there and still alive.
Because they haven't unequivocally answered the question about what happened to the kid yet. Like, she's mentioned losing it, right?
Well, she tried. I don't know about that, but she definitely tried. She tried the abortion,
but stopped.
Right.
So she was still pregnant.
Again, plot armor. Like, if you fuck up, if you with Van, you fucked up Van's face and you tortured her and all this stuff, you're not going to kill her. You've now created a character that's been hardened by life circumstances that's going to react.
So could come back and be some kind of an antagonist.
Right.
I think
the baby is probably still alive, I would say. What happens to Javi? We're going to find out probably immediately what happens to Javi. Javi is either in the cult with Lottie still, which I think would be way more of a good twist than if he dies in some really sad fashion. I could also see him getting eaten. He might get eaten.
And I was mentioning earlier too, I think that there is a possibility that there is another group out there, whether it's this cult or something, and it it's kind of a Lost thing. Lost did that, and that's why I made the Lost comparison. But it's possible. I don't think it's necessarily likely, but it's possible.
I think I would be bummed out if that turned out to be true. I feel like I kind of want them to. I really
Me
want
too.
the Survivor. I want the Lord of the Flies aspects to remain as unsoiled as possible.
I agree. I agree with you on
that. My favorite stories. That's what I love about all these survival stories. I mean, that's what makes Night of the Living Dead so great. If you take away the zombies, it's people pitted against each other in crazy situations. Those are the best stories. And you know what? I could also imagine Javi being a sacrificial lamb in this sense. He's a young, innocent guy, and he's going to be used for an incredible act of evil against him. To sort of solidify how evil somebody else is. So he's going to die.
I could see that.
I could totally see that happening. He's going to have some brutal death that's going to show us how evil Lottie is, or something like that. What does Lottie's cult want, and what do the Yellowjackets symbol mean? We don't know. I mean,
no clue. I think
there's no way to speculate.
Yeah, I think it's total conjecture at this point.
It's something, one thing we can say, it's something that's probably ancient because the symbol is there when they crash land.
Yeah.
So it's something that already exists. It's not something that they made up, which is what I thought in the first episode initially.
Right. Yeah, me too.
Did Lottie murder Travis? I would say absolutely, most likely, yes. I mean, Travis did not kill himself.
Oh, yeah. I think the cult, but I don't know. I think something, and I think all of the present day stuff is going to resolve in ways that has not been hinted at. I think it's going to be some kind of reversal. I think we're going to end up, I mean, for all we know, I mean, Shawn'a could end up being the antagonist of the present day.
Is very possible, and frankly would be great. I would love to see Shawn'a take that turn. She's really, here's the thing. We look at Shawn'a as kind of like a protagonist, but the reality is we have no idea how, she's done some really fucked up shit.
Yeah.
And we have no idea how damaged.
Yeah, she could totally go the, Walter White, Dexter Morgan route,
Yep. We're just zipping through these. Who is the antler queen? Lottie. We think it's Lottie.
Yeah.
Who gets eaten? We said again.
It could also be Taisha, but I'll go. Oh no, wait. We actually saw her arms, so we knew she was white. Correct?
It's not. It's not.
Yeah,
Taisha.
you're right. You're
definitely,
right.
I think it's definitely Lottie.
Lottie.
We see her giving the bear heart at the beginning.
Right. Fair enough.
Here's the thing. How about this? All right. Who is it now today? It's very possible that Lottie might have died in 1996 and Van might have usurped Lottie's role.
I didn't think of that.
It's possible. It's possible.
Okay.
I think Van is one of my favorite characters. She's just so interesting to me. And I loved seeing that scene. At first, Jackie almost lets her burn to death. And then she she redeems herself by pushing Van out of the way of the propeller of the plane, which I thought was so awesome to see that get kind of like resolved in that kind of way. Who gets eaten? Everybody gets eaten, probably.
Yeah, I think what you said earlier when you were talking about the kid, because whoever's getting eaten, it has to be something pretty major because it opened the show. So like when you were talking about it being sacrificial or whatever, maybe it was the first one. Like I my money would be on the kid, but it could be any of them.
I think the first one that breaks the seal, that
well, the first one that they actually kill. I think you're right. The first one that breaks the seal is going to be the frozen girl.
Yeah,
Jackie. But
it might be Javi. It might be Javi.
That would be an actual sacrifice.
And it would be
a sacrifice.
And you know what? It's like you could imagine, like Javi doesn't even know what's happening to him. Like he's so innocent and young, like he doesn't even realize. And obviously, Coach is going to get eaten. Like that.
If he makes it, I will be. You know what would be actually a big twist? He's the big bad.
Dude, oh my God! Like, well, I don't think so because the girls have been slowly taking leadership away from him.
Yeah, I totally don't think that.
He might still be alive. Like
it is possible because everybody is thinking right now for sure if
he's going to get eaten.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to buy it halfway through the first season.
Well, he also lost a leg though. Which kind of gives him plot armor. Remember, it's feel like in these situations when you get injured, it gives you a little bit of plot armor.
Okay, yeah.
Not always, but
not always,
but
I could see it.
It's possible. What happened? We already talked about the wilderness baby. Why is Taisha sleepwalking and having visions? This is a mystery that is yet to be solved. That has to do with the man with no eyes. It's absolutely creepy, and it kind of does annoy me a little bit in that it might be supernatural. Has to do with her grandmother too, who also saw things or something, and we realize that the bite
also,
on.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, which also leads me to believe that like there's something more to her and the engine of them getting into the stuff where it's like right now we just think it's all Lottie, and I think that's going to change.
Yeah, no, you absolutely might be right. And these girls have all done fucked up shit and probably shifted around a whole bunch. We just see them in the present and the first ones we see. So we automatically assume that the good guys have prevailed. And that's what we think.
Right. Right. That's a really good point.
That's a good point. And we realize that the dog is probably what bit her hand, causing that wound. Will Shawn'a get away with killing Adam? She already did. Wait. There's one loose thread. And to go back to Jeff real quick. So Jeff is like, this is what I love about Jeff, besides him having my name, is that he read, like I said, he read all of her journals, and he still loves her and still accepts her for what she is. Totally. And like, I think Shawn'a is so overwhelmed. Like and he also thinks that all of this is his fault, like the affair and everything. He kind of like takes all of it on, and he's always willing to do the right thing. Like he knocked up Shawn'a, he marries her and does the right thing by, if you want to call that the right thing, by being, doing what people societally think would be the honorable thing of getting married and, creating a home for the kid and yada, yada, yada. It's like Jeff is a man of duty. And even in the sense of his store, like, I'll do whatever it takes to save my store. I'll do whatever it takes to get us out of the hole. And it's the same thing with Shawn'a. Like, he learns all this really fucked up shit about Shawn'a, and he still accepts her for who she is and loves her and stuff. So I really like that about Jeff a lot, and makes me kind of feel a little bad for him, that assuming that is the truth about the loan shark thing, which I think it is. It's just a really weak sort of red herring plot point thing.
Yeah.
But her daughter, who we didn't explain, the daughter finds out that Shawn'a's having the affair. So she knows, and she's met Adam, and now that Adam is dead,
and she saw him on the news.
Yeah. She's a loose thread, and she's not the type of loose thread that you can eliminate because that's your fucking daughter. So you're not going to kill your daughter.
Something's going to happen with that for sure.
Something's going to happen with that. Who killed Travis? I
know you think it's Lottie, but my vote is still on Taisha.
You might be right.
Yeah. Or Shawn'a.
You know what? No.
Those are my top picks.
I think it's Taisha because they're trying to make it seem like it's Lottie. It was Taisha. And here's what. Oh, yo, this is why it's fucking Taisha. Well, no, but Lottie was the one who emptied out the bank account. That's the one thing that trips that up. Taisha's working with Lottie.
Yeah, that could be.
Taisha's work. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because maybe Travis was a part of her sacrificial thing in order to get the Senate seat as well as the dog.
There you go.
Could also be a part of that with the fixer.
Yeah.
So that we don't know. We don't know.
What's up again, with it could be anybody.
There's no point in answering this. What's up with the mysterious symbol in this cult? We already discussed it. It's something is clearly there's something in addition. It's not just a cannibal story of survival. It has to do with this cult thing. I love seeing the cult members. And I was reading, I guess they're all wearing lavender because that's what she's wearing in 1996, Lottie.
Okay.
So that's cool. Which other Yellowjackets survived the wilderness and where are they now? Who fucking knows, dude? Who fucking knows?
Right.
And I think that's it. I just want to check. There's one last one. I'm not gonna flash it on the screen. I'm just gonna look real quick, see if there's any questions.
Yeah. Those are fun.
That I love. That's my favorite part about. Oh, hello. Oh my God, Noah. My daughter woke up.
Okay.
Hi, honey. I guess this show is over before.
No problem.
Here, real quick. Come say hello. You want to say hello? Say hi to my friend Jason.
Hi.
Are you okay,
look at her hair.
She just woke up from the nap. Yep.
Beautiful.
I know. I love the curly hair.
Yeah.
Hold on, sweetie. Dad is finishing up real quick. Questions we have. Hold on. 7 biggest questions we have for season 2. Who died in the pilot? Right. We already talked about that. We don't know who Pit Girl is. Did Lottie kill Travis? We already talked about that. How many other survivors are there? Already talked about that. Who kidnapped Natalie? I mean, come on. What's up with Tyrese's shrine? Yada, yada, yada. Where is Hobby? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's it. So I guess we sort of hit all of our bases. I really want to thank VJ Horton for returning again and joining us as our what we're going to call him the Frumess television correspondent here.
Awesome.
Officially. And we'll always have him back for television when it makes sense to, when the planets align. And here, you want to play with this, Mama? Go ahead. Yeah. You go play with that. Here, play with that. Dad's finishing up here. I just want to, let's talk real quick about, you are making a movie right now. Tell me about this. It's your new narrative, or you're going back to narrative storytelling. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Haven't made a narrative movie in 4 years. This is a horror movie. It's called Craving. It's a crime thriller about some heroin addicts that end up besieged in a roadhouse bar. And it turns out one of them is a monster using heroin to keep from turning. And the movie is kind of almost a Scream-esque whodunit mixed with a monster movie, mixed with a crime thriller. Doing a crowdfunder for it starting on the 28th.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So check that out. I know I'm going to be donating to the Indiegogo. I think all of you should too. Support the creation of independent art. Jason has quite the proven track record too. He's made more movies than I probably ever will in my whole entire life. So it's quite an accomplishment to make so much. So make sure you check that out and subscribe to his channel. All that stuff will be in the description. We just need to talk real quick about riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. That's right. As you can see right here, what's normally $59 is 50% off. You're not going to find a better deal than $29.50 for 50 3-inch by 3-inch stickers. That's 9 square inches of real estate for you to put some sort of image or logo or what have you. And if you use the promo code Frumess, that's my last name, FRUMESS, you're going to get 50% off. How do you do that? Go to the link in the description, click on that link for riotstickers.com. It brings you to this special deal and you will be able to get 50 stickers. And like I said, you're not going to find a better deal. There are other competing sticker companies. Their stickers don't even stick. Okay. They don't even stick. So make sure you check that out. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we're the bomb. Let's play the little video that we got going on right here with the song that everybody loves.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too. Posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts. We can print
Boom. I hope you enjoyed this episode of TV of looking at TV shows. We'll be back in a year's time to hopefully talk about more Yellowjackets. Yeah, that's it. We say peace and hair grease.